revolutionary were the revolutions that made the modern world. The English Revolution, 1642 to 1689. The Royalists represented the king and the Parliamentarians represented the Parliament went to civil war with each other. But why? To answer that question, we must go back to...
That should be a thing! No, it should not. Yes, it should! No, it should not. Yes, it should! No, it should not. Yes, it should! How dare you say Catholicism is bad? You're too controlling. I am not controlling.
In 1645, Oliver Cromwell forms a new model army.
Good day, everybody. My name is Oliver Cromwell and I'm going to form the new model army. What?
And in 1646, King Charles I is forced to surrender.
I'm not going to surrender. I am not going to surrender. I'm not going to surrender. Ah. Fine. I surrender.
And in 1647, King Charles I is captured.
Hello. It's me again. Charles. I don't know what they'll do with me. They say they're going to have some kind of debate. What should we do with him? Leave him to rot? Or charge him? For what? Treason? Or eating the biscuits? Good day and welcome to today. As for now, my life is pretty miserable. I'm just left to really rot.
In 1649, King Charles is finally executed, England becomes a Commonwealth, and Oliver Cromwell gains the title of Lord Protector. In 1657, Oliver Cromwell is offered the crown, however he declines. Everything is well until in 1658 he dies. His son Richard attempts to take over, however his reign was very miserable, and in 1659 he resigned. The monarchy was then restored in 1660, but with significant limitations on power. So how revolutionary was the English Revolution? I would give this revolution an 8, since there are major changes in political and religious views leading to this high score on the revolution scale. Additionally, this influenced other wars and sparked creativity, as it affected a lot of people and led to major change. The American Revolution, 1765 to 1783. America, land of greenery, scenery and wildlife, and a 7-year war. Some countries signed the Treaty of Paris, ending this. Later, the Stamp Act was introduced in 1765, putting a tax on basic goods. Americans were livid, so the British decided to repeal it. But what happens next? Another war. This war happened in Boston to enforce a new tax, the Townshend Acts. This did not go well and ended in a fight where 5 people died. Radicals called this the Boston Massacre, whilst British people called it the Incident on King Street. More back and forth happened, including the Committees of Correspondence and Britain trying to intimidate Massachusetts. On April the 19th, 1775, war broke out again. This continued until July 1776, when America signed the Declaration of Independence. They were now a free country! So, how revolutionary was the American Revolution? I would give it an 8, since America gained political, social and economic transformation. It also inspired the French Revolution. This contributed to the high score as it affected a lot of people in a relatively short amount of time. The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799. In 1789, the Estates General, comprised of first, second and third estate members, had divided thoughts on whether to count votes by head or give each group one collective vote. At this time, the third estate was treated very unfairly. This dispute led to deputies of the Third Estate, along with some clergy members, to declare themselves a National Assembly. They then made the Tennis Court Oath, promising not to disband until France got a new constituent. King Louis XVI relented and urged to merge the estates into a new National Assembly. However, he also gathered troops to possibly shut them down. Panicked about this, a large crowd stormed the Bastille prison at an event known as the Storming of the Bastille. Between August 26th and October the 6th, the Declaration of the Rights of Man was signed, heavily based on the American Declaration of Independence. In 1792, France declared war on Austria. On September the 20th, a new assembly, the National Convention, met, abolished the monarchy, and established a republic. The year after, King Louis XVI was executed for treason, and soon after, his wife was also executed during the Reign of Terror, a period of state-sanctioned violence and mass executions. This period lasted from September the 5th, 1793 to July the 27th, 1794, and aimed to create active citizens, and it ended with the overthrow of Robespierre. On November the 9th, 1799, Napoleon Bonaparte overthrew the Directory and declared himself leader of France. He was then later named Emperor in 1804. So, how revolutionary was the French Revolution? I would give this a solid 9, as it involved a massive social overhaul and ended feudalism. It also inspired more revolutions in Europe and Latin America. However, it didn't reach perfect 10 because power kept on shifting and women were still treated unfairly, even though the revolution affected a lot of people quickly. The Russian Revolution, 1917 to 1922. Please note that the Russian Revolution took place under the Julian calendar, not the Gregorian one, so dates may be slightly inaccurate. Russian peasants took to the streets of Petrograd, angry about their living conditions. Later that month, Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate. His brother was offered the crown, but he declined. A provisional government was then set up. At this time, communist leader Lenin returned to Petrograd after a 10-year exile and introduced the April Theses peace land bread. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks overthrew the provisional government. After their victory, Lenin introduced war communism mainly to win the Civil War. A new socialist government was started. Later, the Bolsheviks fought the anti-Bolsheviks, for which they won, and formed Soviet Russia in 1922. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin became the ruler of Soviet Russia and led until 1953. During his time, he introduced a 5-year plan to industrialize the country. So, how revolutionary was the Russian Revolution? I would give it a 9, as it transformed Russia from a Tsarist autocracy into a socialist state in just a few years. It completely changed the old system, and because it affected a lot of people in a short amount of time, it was extremely revolutionary. So, which is the most revolutionary? Some revolutions were more revolutionary than others because they changed not just the leaders but the whole way society worked. In the English Revolution, the king lost power, but most of the rich people stayed in control, and life didn't change much for ordinary people. The American Revolution made the colonies free from Britain, but it mainly helped rich landowners, and everyday life stayed quite similar. The French Revolution was much more revolutionary because it got rid of the king, ended the power of the nobles, and gave new rights to ordinary people. The Russian Revolution went even further by trying to destroy the class system completely and create a totally new way of living under communism. This shows that the French and Russian revolutions were more revolutionary because they didn't just swap rulers, they changed society in a big way. Personally, I believe the Russian Revolution was the most revolutionary. This is because it didn't just change the government, it completely changed how people lived their lives. For example, after 1917, the Tsar was removed and the Bolsheviks took over, aiming to create a socialist communist society where everyone was meant to be equal. This shows it was revolutionary because it tried to get rid of social classes and private ownership, not just replace one leader with another. Unlike the English and American revolutions, where power mainly stayed with the wealthy, the Russian Revolution wanted to totally rebuild society and give power to workers and peasants. Therefore, it was more revolutionary because it changed both who had power and how people lived day to day.